Tony Phillip, and I'll be the anchor for the workshop. Today's workshop is going to be an exciting workshop on smart tech, which will help you to know and understand about smart technology. I know everyone is excited about it, isn't it? All right, let's begin with an introduction from our very lovely Dr. Shubhra Banerjee. She comes with more than 21 years of rich experience in various domains and technologies. Uh, she had a development and testing experience in multiple companies like Infosys, Intel, and IBM. She's an educationist with a rare blend of education and technology and is a meticulous designer of new age learning pathways. Now I request Dr. Shubhra ma'am, Academic Head for Program Design and Innovation at iNurture Education Solution Private Limited, to say a few words regarding the workshop. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for the wonderful introduction. And good morning, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to this session here. We have our very wonderful speaker, Mr. Akhil Menon, who would be speaking. And we also have Dr. Sagar Gulati, who would also enlighten us with some of his experiences. So overall, it will be a wonderful session. And I am sure all of us here who have gathered here today on a Saturday morning, we will be able to take the full advantage of this session. Let me tell you a little about this smart tech technology, what it really is. Of course, our esteemed speakers would cover more in detail. So the first topic that comes into my mind when I talk about smart tech is cloud computing. Okay, cloud computing, as we already know, all of us know, it's becoming very, very popular with the growing technologies. And what it really is, basically, cloud computing is, it allows us to actually access the resources over the internet. Previously, what used to happen is when we would like to access some particular resource, we would have the entire infrastructure at our own campus. But now what is happening with the growing technology is we use the pay per use model, where we pay only for the resources that we are using, and we need not have all the resources at our own campus. We need not have all the infrastructural facilities. We could register and we could use them as per what is our requirement. So a very good example of this, which all of us will be able to relate to, is Netflix. Okay, so Netflix, what do we really do? We do a subscription and we use the services as per what our need is. Similarly, Netflix is one example. Similarly, whatever resources would be required, we would be using only those resources, and these resources need not be at our own premises. We could use them as per our usage, or whenever we want. We have the total flexibility when to use, what to use, and we pay only for that particular usage. Okay, so there are many deployment models for cloud. Okay, the various deployment models, I'm sure Akhil will cover, and I am not covering it now. And you really know about the public cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud. These are the various deployment models, and each has its own set of advantages, which will be covered. And we also have the different service models, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, which will also be covered. But everything will have its own advantages and disadvantages, and this is what we need to understand very much in details. Moving to the next technology which comes to my mind is mobile. I am sure each and everybody of us here have a mobile in our hand, and we use it for various different purposes. But we just go through the apps. Say for online shopping, we use a particular app. For our online ticket booking, we use a particular app. But what is going inside to build the app, and what is there which will help us use the app in a more profitable manner, is what we really need to understand in mobile computing. So for that, we need to understand about Android, iOS, the different integration services and components, how the design and the seamless user interface, and how we do the development of the end-to-end solution. These are few things which we would be covering. And when I talk about some of the courses that we have designed in iNurture, you will be able to relate to it very well. Okay, so with this short introduction on cloud and mobile, I would please request Mr. Tony to actually invite the other speakers who would cover this in detail. And of course, during my conclusion session, I will talk a little about the courses that we are offering. Over to you, Tony.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful words. Now I request Dr. Sagar Gulati, sir, Director TERI, Technology Education and Research Integrated Institution. He's also country representative India for Lincoln University College, Malaysia, and head TERI Technology Business Incubator. Now I request Sagar Gulati, sir, to say a few words. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tony, and thank you, Dr. Shubhra. It was a wonderful brief about the program. I'm really privileged because this Terry Talks thing is pretty close to my heart. We started it some 4 years back. We did a series of offline activities. Now under the COVID shadow, we are making it online. And thanks to Team iNurture, we are able to bring some wonderful eminent speakers who bring a lot of insights on the topic that has been chosen together. And the smart tech technologies, like very well explained by Dr. Shubhra, and certainly the eminent speaker, Mr. Menon, is supposed to speak in detail about it. These are the way of life nowadays. These are not the things that we are not aware of, but we need to understand how to develop technical education into picture. For me, having collaborated with 3 IITs in the country as an institution and received some international accreditation for the institution, this particular topic is so very close, this Terry Talks, because this gives us the opportunity to connect with the budding engineers, budding technocrats, the kids of school who are in the class ranges from 8th to 12th. Maybe engineering graduates are also there. So they are the people who have the responsibility on their shoulder to carry it further from here. So we, being the facilitator, we feel immensely pleased to pass on these technologies to our youth. So my simple call, it's a wonderful topic. Students should feel associated to it. Students should feel connected to it. And this new technologies, you need to understand. You need to have a good hand on. And with the power of good communication, collaboration, you are certainly going to succeed in your professional career. Thank you. Over to you, Tony.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Now I request Mr. Akhil Menon, Assistant Professor, iNurture Education Private Limited, to take up the workshop. To give a brief about Akhil Menon, he's a talented professor of electronics and computer science, driven to inspire students to pursue academic and personal excellence with an exceptional track record. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tony. Before I get started, I would actually like few of the participants, especially the students, to have a hi or a good morning in the chat box, please. Okay, I got few messages. Please respond fast so that I know that you're awake and you're interested and enthusiastic about this session today. Great. So let me start. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Mr. Akhil.
So let's start off. So today we are going to see something about smart tech. Let's start off. First of all, good morning to all of you. Let me tell a little about myself. Tony has covered a lot. A few of them, I'll fill in the rest of the details. My name is Akhil Menon. I have come my engineering and master's in embedded systems. I'm working as an assistant professor with iNurture, and I am a DIY enthusiast and a roboticist. DIY enthusiast in the meaning, in the sense, I like to build a lot many projects by myself. I go online, I just check how things go around or how things are being used, and I try to replicate that at home. Roboticist, because I like working with robots. I literally can, what to say, if you give me a specific project which has motors and more, I'll be so engaged in that I might even forget that I'm a teacher. I'll become a student like you while I'm learning those stuff. Few points before I start the session. I like to talk a lot. If I go off topic, make sure to tell me in the chat box that I am going off topic. Then if I'm going fast, if my pace of talking is fast, please let me know in the chat box. Whatever questions you have, you can put it in the chat box and all the questions will be answered at the end of the session. Keep the session interactive. If there's any question on the screen or you want to talk about this, something that you look on the screen or your experience, put it in the chat box so that we can have a conversation directly. I hope we are clear till here.
Yes, Mr. Akhil. Please carry on.
So the agenda for today is basically smart tech, but these are the following things that I'll be looking at. First of all, what do you mean by smart? What do you mean by technology? And are you surrounded by smart technology right now? The technological revolution, where to get started, how to get started, a little demo on Tinkercad, like a simulation, and the different projects that you can build as well as search by yourself. So before even I go to talk about smart technology, according to you, what do you mean by smart? You can put it in the chat box. Okay, intelligent. Anyone else? Come on, guys, be interactive. Sricharan, can you post it in the chat box? I'm unable to hear you. Okay. So for smart, I have got one answer, that is intelligent. Correct. So smart can also mean, okay, Sricharan is saying reducing of time. Smart can also be an acronym, meaning it can be expanded for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Now, if someone tells you you are smart, basically that means out of these 5 things that you see on the screen, one of it you guaranteed you are adhering to it. You are either on time, whatever you talk is relevant to the topic that you're talking about, you attain your goals, whatever you do is in a measurable quantity, and you are specific whenever you're talking about a topic. So don't you think yes, no? Yes or no, guys? Tony, am I audible?
Yes, Akhil, you are.
So now that we have seen what smart is, what do you mean by technology then? What do you mean by technology? Is there any specific definition for technology or whatever you see around? whatever we see around ourselves, like TV, phones, and all of these things come under technology. Okay. Now, this is a cartoon from the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. It's Richard Rich. Most of the things that you see over here is something that they have assumed or they have thought about. And this is what technology looked like, or this is how the technology was imagined. And today, we have smartwatches, we have mobile phones, we have something futuristic like this, like you have a band and the whole display will come on your hand, and basically anything that can be displayed. We have Google Home, Amazon Alexa, we have smart home concepts, we have smart TV, and all of this comes under smart technology. Now, all of these things use one or the other feature that we call it as smart. Now, as we saw in the definition, the smart, that means it should be specific, it should be measurable, attainable, it should be, time based. It should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time based. And most of the technology that we see over here adhere to all of these things. That means the wearable devices that you can see over here on the top left hand corner of the screen is basically the evolution of wearable technology from the time of just using GPS modules to going to Google Glasses, currently to wearing Fitbits to measure our health, health stuff like heart rate monitor, BP monitor. From that to getting a ring that is basically something connected with NFC that you can use to do your payments. This is how the technology has evolved. And all of these technology uses something or the other, meaning it's small, it is based on cloud based. That means whatever data is being collected by them will be stored somewhere in the cloud so that you as a consumer can access it later on. Then TV, smart TV, you basically have gesture control TVs these days. You just move hand in front of the TV and it will start working. Correct? Now, if this is smart technology, this is where we are going towards. That is smart city. Not only the few elements of our home or few elements of our life will be automated, but the whole city will be automated. Right from industry, security, retail, society, healthcare, home, energy, and mobility. So let's see two short videos on how these things are connected. Now, you will be listening to a term called as Internet of Things, which basically is like a bigger umbrella of the whole technology. And this is how smart technology, we, culminate everything into smart tech. So let's see these two short videos and then let's see what are the different elements of smart tech.
Internet of Things is changing much about the world we live in, to how we make purchases, and even how and chips are embedded in the physical around us, each transmitting data that lets us understand how these together. But how exactly do all these devices share such large quantities of data, and how do we put it to work? Production of a factory, time updates on where to park, or monitoring our personal health. It's the common Internet of Things platform that brings this diverse information together to communicate with each other. So the devices securely communicate the data from many devices and applies analytics to share the most that address. Let's start with a simple. We're taking a long road trip. That her check engine light has come on. She knows that she needs to have her car. There's something that needs. Turns out, the sensor that triggered check gateway integrates and sorts the data from the sensors. This way, only the most relevant information will be transmitted to the manufacturer's platform. But before sending this organized data, the car's gateway and platform must first register with each other and confirm. It's constantly gather thousands of bits like hers, building an historical record and database. Sure has added rules and logic to the platform. This car sends a signal, triggers an alert, so uses the platform application. In this case, oversees all of their customers' cars on the road. It uses the data from Rebecca to offer her time to service her car, to the nearest certified dealer, on for the service. Ensure that Rebecca's brakes are covered under her warranty, that the correct replacement is ordered, and then sent to the dealership so it is ready when she arrives. But the manufacturer does not stop there. They deployed a continuous engineering application design and the same applications custom to pinpoint the exact problem. They can see if these cars were made at this. Do all these pieces add up to? Streamlined inventory management for the better, safer car from the manufacturer. It means she to the Internet of Things.
For how many of you the audio was breaking? Sorry, there was a little internet connectivity issue at my end.
In between, there was a breakage, Akhil sir.
Okay, no, fine. I hope, but the video was clear except for the audio.
Sometimes it was blurred as well.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Tony, you want me to play the video again, or is it okay if I go ahead with the second video?
I think you can go ahead with the second video and just give some brief on the previous one. So that will give an insight.
Okay, so basically, what this basically the video that I just shared few minutes back, the video was basically to just show you one example of an example of what smart technology will look like in the future. In this way, in this video, we basically saw something called as Internet of Things, where all cars are connected to each other with the company. So say that your car is moving ahead, in between the road, your car breaks down and you don't know what the reason is. But because of sensors that is there inside your system, those sensors actually tell you which part of the car is not working, and it sends that data to the company or to the retailer. Now, what happens at this point is it not only sends the data of which part has gone wrong, but it also tells which model of the car it has gone wrong for, which year the model was done, what are the other things what are the other components or what to say machinery that's there inside this car that might also go wrong. What happens is, in this way, by the time the car actually reaches the service station, everything is kept ready so that this one small piece of the component that has got damaged will actually be sorted and it will be immediately replaced. And also a lot of things will be kept in their more of the same component will be kept in their inventory, so that if any other car with the same make and model and the year of manufacturing has the same problem, the service centers has this issue. This is how smart tech can be integrated with automobile industry, and this is one example. The next example that we are going to see is for a retail industry. Here, basically, so let's see the video and I'll summarize the video after the video ends. So this video is basically only about how a normal person spends at an average 2 years of his life just for billing. Now I'm 101% sure that most of you who are sitting here today attending this session has faced this. Before Corona, when you used to go to malls, while you are shopping, you have to stand in long queues, especially if it's a weekend, correct? Just to bill the things that you have brought. And this is how everything comes together, where basically you have billing system, you have information about the product that's there on a smart booth, and a smart kiosk where basically you just go read the barcodes or the smart tags that they have already put on their clothes, or anything for that matter, and you can bill. You don't have to wait for a cashier to tell you. And if you have say 10 smart kiosks this way, don't you think the amount of time that you actually spend for standing in the queue will get reduced automatically? Now in this both videos, there are few things that has been used. One is wireless technology that has kind of revolutionized a whole lot of things that we see today. Second is something based on cloud. Like Shubhra ma'am introduced, the first thing that comes in mind from smart tech is cloud. Basically, all the data that is being stored is in a cloud storage. Now, cloud is not basically the cloud that we see in our in the day, but it's basically a storage device that is kept far away in data storage farms, and that's where the data is stored, and that can be accessed whenever we can. For example, you might also be using Google cloud unknowingly or unknowingly. The Google Photos app that you actually have on most of the smartphones is basically a cloud storage application. The data or the photos that you click are actually not stored on your phone, but on a cloud storage provided by Google, where all your photos are backed up. This is how cloud comes into picture. And these are few examples of how cloud can be used. Apart from cloud, you can also use your mobile phones to connect over here. So that the smart kiosk, rather than being at a kiosk place, the technology can be put together on your phone. Any store, for example, let's take Central, for example. Now, if this Central brand creates its own app where the app you can open the camera, scan the barcode, and it gives you the details not only about what product you're scanning, but also the price. And it also has a billing feature. So, don't you think that rather than a kiosk, it will be more, what to say, great to have it in your phone, that you just go scan it using your phone and you can pay it. If you know about Decathlon has already made this possible. If you go to Decathlon, open their app, they have an option of billing through your phone. You just go, collect everything, come near the cashier's counter, scan the whole barcode of the things that you have bought, and you can pay then and there. You can use UPI, you can use net banking, you can use card. You don't even have to wait to go till the cashier. And they also have smart kiosks that help you do these things. So these things that I've just shown you are not something that will come in the future. It's actually the things that are happening at this moment of time, at this very second. So see how technology has evolved over the years. Now, when we talk about evolution of technology, the first thing that was evolutionized or revolutionized was the calculating part, and also how the light is being generated. In 500 BC, it was the abacus that was used, and that was technology in 500 BC, that is abacus, to calculate. In the 1800s, it was called a magic lantern. Not the abacus, but something was created called as a magic lantern. In 1970s, calculator was the biggest revolution in technology. You could do calculations in seconds rather than in minutes. The upgradation of a calculator was the computer in 1980s. And moving ahead, we got mobile phones, tablets, and today we have something called as extended reality, which combines virtual reality and augmented reality. Now, if these terms are new for you, think about the video glasses that comes with Xbox 360, the Microsoft's glass, the Google's glass, the augmented reality glass. You just slit your phone inside it and start watching, and you feel like you are in the place that you want to go and visit. This is how the technology has evolved over the years. Now, every technology or everything that we work on needs a power source, correct? If you notice, this is how the machines have evolved with the power sources as well, right? First power source that came into picture was the fire in the Stone Ages. Then using fire, we created steam engines. That was the Industry 1.0 or the first industrial revolution. Based on steam, there were many machines created. The human labor were reduced and given a lot to machines, which would be powered using steam. Then it came engines with mass productions. After that, it was Industry 3.0, where automation came into picture, like pick and placing of cars, making the cars, pick and placing of products, actually not more than cars. But then also this technology was used with cars or to build cars. It was automated. And now everything is wireless. That is the Industry 4.0, the smart factory. In a smart factory, you don't even need a man to actually go and monitor. You need a single person, a single manager that will overlook on all of these things, whether it's happening on time, whether there are any errors in the processing, or so on and so forth. This is how technology has evolved over the time. And today, today we are in Industry 4.0. We are in the process of 4.0. And within mere months or within a decade, we'll be basically ourselves be infused with technology. There are so many sci-fi films. Take the example of Marvel. Iron Man has been evolved so much till the end of his character in the whole Avengers series and things, that you saw him build a robot in 2010 or 2008 by using just scrap metals. And at the end, you saw how nanotechnology was kept just inside his core, the power core, and that housed the whole Iron Man's suit till going till the end. So this is how the technology has been imagined, and it's not long that we ourselves will be using part of these technologies in our day-to-day life. Now, looking at these explanations of smart technology, don't you think you are surrounded by smart tech at this point? Now, this is how things have been evolved from just trying to make fire using stones to going like a torch, then tools, and now we are on our phones. Most of you might be even watching this session on your phones, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So phones, which was basically or initially made just to talk with each other, today you can not only view videos, you can not only view videos or make phone calls or SMSs. You can basically do a video phone call. You are actually listening to me. You are able to interact with me today on the phones. Something that was only created to make a phone call or to send an SMS. You can surf through the internet. You can solve most of your problems on the phones and on the go. You don't even need a laptop or a desktop for solving these issues. Now, so many things are there in smart technology. We talked about smartphones, cloud, Internet of Things, wireless technology. So where should we start? Or where someone should start learning about smart technology? There are many options to actually get started with, and so many options that you can't actually even count on your fingers. For example, the phone that you are on, or on the desktop or laptop you are on, this is the size this is the size of the chip that your phone runs on, your laptop runs on, your desktop runs on. And this is something that is powered by a battery. That battery is also so small that it actually slips inside the phone, and the whole phone is that sits in your hand. Be it an iPhone, be it a Samsung phone, or any other phone, it fits in your hand. And the more and more mobile phone technology is being Tony, am I audible?
Yes, Akhil, you are. You're audible. You're audible.
Okay. So the more and more the mobile technology is being revolutionized, or they are evolving in such a way that sometime in the future, in the near future, we'll be not even having mobile phones in our hand. It will basically be just a wristband that will basically display something on towards the air. After this session, when you get time, just search on something called as Sixth Sense technology. It was created in 2010 2011 by Pranav Mistry. He was the chief technical officer for Samsung for quite some time. Because of his technology, we currently are using Samsung's smartwatch, Samsung's touch displays, and a lot many things. So he imagined something, he started building it, and now parts of that system are being used, not at a whole, but we are using part of the system one by one, be it any company that any company's phone that we are looking at. Now, out of so many features that we can use to just get started, we can get started with these three things. That is a platform called as Arduino, a platform called as Raspberry Pi, and the third platform that is called as NodeMCU. Now, out of these three platforms, the working of all the three are similar, except that the Arduino and NodeMCU are basically a development board, meaning you get these boards from the company as it is. You can start working or build your own smart technology projects using these two boards. Whereas Raspberry Pi is basically a small credit card sized computer, meaning the desktop that you have at your home, you cannot carry it everywhere, correct? For carrying it everywhere, you basically go or use laptops that you can carry, go take it to your schools, take it back, and but it's still heavy, don't you think? 1 kilo, 2 kilo minimum of your laptops, especially if you are going for a gaming laptop, it automatically, the weight and size automatically increases based on the features that you are. But Raspberry Pi is basically this. I hope you can see on my screen. Give me a minute. This is basically your Raspberry Pi. I hope the board is visible to everyone.
Yes, Mr. Akhil.
So this is basically Raspberry Pi. This is a computer. All you have to do is connect to the power, connect to the display. You can connect via internet. It also has a Wi-Fi chip, so you don't even need to wire it to get connected. And this is a computer that you can take anywhere. And also, to make this work, you don't need much time. You don't need a power source that heavy as that you require for your laptop. That you require for your laptop. And this is how technology is evolving. Over time, it will be like you will not even be using your mobile phones. You will basically be mobile phones, desktop or laptops. You will basically be using something like a Raspberry Pi that fits on your hand, and you can do programming. You can do connecting things using your hand and making call and a lot of other things. Now, to get started and to show a small demonstration in this time, I'm basically going to use Arduino, because that is something that we can simulate as well rather than having it in our hand at this moment. Now, Arduino is a company which was started in 2000, 2001, 2002. The first board that they developed was the Arduino Uno, which is still being used as compared to its other versions that has actually come. Now, Arduino has multiple options. You can see you have Arduino Leonardo, Mega, Ethernet, Lilypad. There are Arduinos that you can actually sew onto your dress. There are variations of Arduino boards that has come that you can basically keep it on your hand over here, like on a blouse, stitch it onto your blouse, and use that Arduino as a mouse. Basically, a gesture controlled mouse for your system. These are the advancement that has happened only in the span of 10 years. This is I'm talking about in at this moment of time, at this very second, there are I'll say, I won't say it as a statistics, but every 5 minutes, a new project is being created based on an Arduino platform or on Raspberry Pi or on Node MCU. And there are so many variations that has come out in this past 1 year that the possibilities of building projects and the possibilities of areas that you can go to with building the smaller projects is enormous. Now, this is the board that we'll be looking at. It is called an Arduino Uno. It basically has something called as a controller which control different things. Now, this controller is also called as a microcontroller. It's similar to the processor that you have inside your laptop. The difference is the processor that's there inside your laptop and your phones is something that you cannot touch or you cannot program, because it's a pre-programmed thing, and the operating system and all the other things are programmed based on the processor that it uses, be it Intel i5 or i10, be it 10 generation, 9 generation, 7 generation, or AMD versions. These are the processors that you cannot touch, or chips that you cannot touch. But the microcontroller are the chips that you can touch. You can make changes. You can make n number of changes using this. So let's get started. To start the simulations or to start working, if you would have asked me 2 or 3 years back on I cannot get my hands on Arduino, it's a little costly, my parents are not allowing, I would have said yes, but you need something on your hand. But In the past 2 years, the company called as Autodesk has come up with a very wonderful tool called as Tinkercad. It's an online tool. You don't have to buy. It's a free tool. All you have to do is, I'll put the name of this tool in the chat box. It's called as tinkercad.com. You can use this website and it will open something like this. Now, because I've already logged in, you see my login page. You have n number of options over here. You have 3D designs. That means you can actually create 3D designs that you want to print it on a 3D printer or just to showcase. You have circuits. You have something called as code blocks. We'll be going to circuits. Click on circuits. Now you'll see a lot of circuits that is here that I use. This tool I use extensively when I'm teaching my students. Now what you have to do is you have to click on create new circuit. Coming back, once you click on create new circuit, this is the dashboard or this is the screen that you will see. I'll just explain what are the different things on the screen. This is the project name that it by default creates. This you can change it. So I'll do it as EXP1. Now, the other part that we need to actually keep in mind is the one that is on our right hand side. These are the basic components that Tinkercad allows you to use, which is the resistor, LED, button, potentiometer, capacitor. Now, these are all technical names. Now, I hope that most of you are from 11th and 12th standard. So you basically have an idea what a resistor is, what an LED is, what does a potentiometer do or a variable resistor does. If in physics, you might have seen something like a breadboard. Now, before starting everything, I'm just going to click on all components that I can see. So if I increase the size, and because I've kept on all components, in general, we can see resistors, capacitors, then devices. We have push button, we have switches, we have sensors, we have distance sensors, we have IR sensors, temperature, we have keypad input, we have something called as a DIP switch. DIP is basically meaning dual inputs. Then we have 4 type switches, 6 type switches. Then output devices, we have multiple LEDs. We have single color LED, we have RGB LED, we have a light bulb, we have something called as a NeoPixel, then we have jewels, rings, and a lot of other things. These are basically your output devices. Then you have motors that you can work with. Even motors, there are different types of motors. You have a regular DC motor, you have DC motor with something called as an encoder, servo motors, and a lot more things. You have an LCD that you can display. You have this segment display. This you might have seen at a lot of places where they are used for displays where it is just 7 segments. And based on that, it shows you characters on the screen. Then you have a 16x2 LCD, meaning 16 characters LCD. Then power sources, you have 9-volt battery, 1.45-volt battery. You have something called as a potato battery and lemon battery. Now, these are used with smaller kids to explain them how power works. And a lot many things. Now, out of this, what I'll be using first and foremost is just creating a regular circuit. Now, smart technology is basically technology at the end of the day. Whatever you create, you need power source, be it cloud, be it internet, be it Wi-Fi, be it your own laptop. The first thing that you need to understand is how it works or how the battery works. So for that, what I'll do is I'll be taking 3-volt coin cell. Let's increase the size. I'll be taking a small LED. Now, LED is very small. To be honest, it's not even that big that it won't work. Now, with this, I'll basically create a small circuit. Now, every device has 2 points. It has a positive leg, it has a negative leg. For LED also, as well as for your battery. Now, if on LED, if I hover my mouse pointer over here, I'll get it as cathode and anode. Now, cathode is my negative pin, anode is my positive pin. So I just reposition my battery so that I don't crisscross the wires. So now let's connect anode to my positive pin of the battery, cathode to my negative pin of the battery. Now, this won't start working as it is. Because it's a simulation, once you're done with connections, you have to start simulating or click on this button that says start simulation. Before going over there as well, let's change the colors of the wire. Now, universally accepted colors for positive terminal is red and for negative terminal is black. So let's change that. Once we click on start simulation, the LED starts working. Now, this LED color can basically also be changed. You can change the color to say green, or we'll do blue, and we'll start the simulation. And it starts working. Now, this is the very basic circuit. And this circuit you might have also seen in your classrooms, something that looks something like this. This basically the diagram, the red color diagram that you see on the left hand side of the screen is basically the same circuit that I've just created using Tinkercad. This part is your LED. This is your battery, where the longer line shows that it's the positive terminal. The shorter line shows that is the negative terminal. So this is the positive side of the LED, which is connected to the positive terminal, which we have done over here. The negative side is connected to the negative terminal, which we have done over here. This is the basic of any technology. You need battery to power something. Now, this is how you basically connect any of your devices. Here are the things on the screen. Let me stop the simulation. Now, the reason I showed you just an LED and a battery is, now to power the LED, we knew that we needed a battery. But don't you think this is very basic? You are not basically controlling anything or making it smart. Yes or no? So now to make something this smaller thing as smart, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use Arduino. And rather than connecting a single LED, I'll be connecting multiple LEDs to here, multiple LEDs here. So let's take this one. Let's replicate. Two. 4, 5. So let me just do for 5 connections and let's arrange them a little properly. Now with these 5 LEDs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something like a running light. The lights that you use during Diwali or New Year's or Christmas, you just put it over there and it starts working, correct? It goes in different fashions. You have multiple colors. You have red, blue, green, yellow, and lot of stuff. So let's do one more thing. Let's change the color of every LED. Let's go with red, green, yellow, orange, blue. So we have 5 color LEDs. Now, because these are 5 LEDs, first of all, all these grounds or all the negative of these LEDs are going to be shorted or going to be connected with each other. And because we need all these LEDs to glow at a different time and in a different pattern, we'll be connecting all these LEDs to different pins. Now, in electronics as well, or in smart technology, you have something called as an analog value. You have something called as a digital value. Now, when you say analog and digital, digital basically means there will be only 2 values. You have 0, you have 1. Nothing apart from these. Now, zeros and ones in technology or in battery power terms, 0 means there is no voltage that is applied. 1 means the highest voltage that a board can supply. Now with Arduino, the highest voltage a board can supply is 5 volts. So what I will do is, these are the positive pins of my LED, that is the anode. I'll be connecting these positive pins to the pins that are numbered between 2 and 13. So let's connect First blue one, then orange, yellow, green, then red. So we have connected it to 2, 3. Okay, let's just reconnect them a little properly. We are connecting them from pin number 3 to pin number 7. And let's ground all the pins. That is their negative pin. Now let's connect all of them together to the ground pin. Now I know the connections that you're seeing on the screen might be a little confusing. Don't worry. It is meant to be confusing at this point. So let's change the colors. Let's change it to black. Now, the newer feature of Tinkercad that has been recently updated is you can actually also change the type of wire that we are connecting. Now, this wire that we have connected is normal wires. Now, let's change this to alligator clips, and this is how it will look like. If I change it to hookup, the value will again change, or the way it looks will also change. For now, I'll keep it as normal and change the color to black. Now, let's change the now let's change the wire colors that we have connected to the positive pins to the color that they represent. So the blue LED will change the wire to blue. The orange LED will change the wire color to orange. We'll do it the same for yellow. Green is as it is, and red we'll change it to red. Now in Tinkercad, now this is just basic. Now even if I click on start simulation, ideally it should start working, right? Because I told that I'm using this Arduino board as my power source, but it's not working. To make this work, we have to program this controller, or we have to program this board. Now, in Tinkercad, you have an option of coding it using blocks. Also, you have an option of coding it using programs. I'll show you first how to code it using blocks, where you don't require any programming language. All you have to do is see what the blocks are and then replace it. So let's see that. Let's go to code. Now this is your block part. Now here, let's delete the thing that is already there because we don't want that. Now, first thing is we have to repeat the whole, one second. Let's see. So now what I want to do is, first we'll only see how to make these LEDs work. Not one by one, we just want to make it work. So for that, what we'll do is, the first block that you see over here, the second block that you see over here, that is set pin 0 to high. I'll just copy this over here, and I'm not connected anything on pin number 0, 1 or 2. I have connected my pins from 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So we basically need same block 5 times. So I'll connect this over here again. That is 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now let's set pin number 2 to high. High basically meaning we are giving it voltage. Low basically we are meaning we are not giving it voltage. Now let's do set pin 3 to high, 4 to high, 5. We have not connected anything to 2 either. We have connected to 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now, ideally, when I click on start simulation, all the LEDs should start working. See, all the LEDs started, but all of them started together, correct? It's not running in a pattern, like it's not going from left to right or right to left. Now, to do that, first of all, what we need to do is, let's keep these blocks a little apart from each other. what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to control block. I'm going to give something called as weight. Then I'm going to attach this one. And same weight block, I'm again going to connect over here. Now what the weight block will do is, first it will glow the blue LED that is connected to pin number 3. Then it will wait for a second. Then it will make the LED that's connected on pin number 4. It will that is the orange LED. It will make that glow for 1 second. Then again it will make the yellow one for 1 second. Then it will make the green one work. Then the red one work. But once they are set to be on, they won't be set off. Means they won't off the LEDs. To make the LEDs switch off, again you have to go to output. Then you have to connect over here. And you have to switch it off. That is, you will be doing it low. Now here what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to switch it off one after the other, but I'm going to switch it off all at the same time. And let's see how it works now. So let's just do it this way. Set pin, 2 more blocks. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all of it, I'm making it low. Now also, after making all of them off, I want them again to start switching on one after the other. So I'll add one more weight block at the end. Now let's see how it works. Let's start the simulation. Let's see if the logic that I'm just telling you works the way it we want it to. Off, and it should start again. Now, using this logic, don't you think you can create your own Diwali lights rather than actually going and asking or buying the whole set of lights separately? But don't you think what I have done over here is not actually smart? It's just a demonstration of how to get started with smart tech. Now, to make this smart, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stop the simulation. Stop looking at this code for a moment. Now I'm actually going to convert this, reset. Now let's delete all the LEDs that I have over here and let's just create let's take a breadboard and create traffic lights out of it. Now, a usual traffic light works something like this, right? The red color glows for a certain amount of time, say for 60 seconds or for a minute. As soon as the red light goes, the green light starts. After the green light goes off, before the red lights turns on again, you have the orange color, right? Now to do that, we basically need 3 color LEDs. So let's give LED 1, LED 2, LED 3. Let's change the color of 1 to yellow. Sorry, let's do it orange actually. It's more like an amber color. And let's do green. Now the reason I've used a breadboard is while I connected the other LEDs over here, that is the 5 LEDs that I connected, all the wires were jumbled up. We weren't able to understand how was all the ground connected to each other. So that's where the breadboard comes in. Now in breadboard, I'll connect the grounds together of all the LEDs and then take a wire from here and connect this a single wire to my ground terminal. Now let's change this color to black. Now so using breadboard, I have connected all my wires to single point, that is my ground, and it looks pretty. You can actually watch it nicely and you don't feel like, okay, it's a lot jumbled up. Now let's do similar thing. That is, let's connect positive pins of my 3 LEDs to my Arduino. That is, from red, I'll take one wire and I'll connect to pin number 2. From yellow, I'll take one wire and connect it to pin number 3. From green, I'll take one wire and connect it to pin number 4. Now this the wiring diagram looks a little better than what we did previously. Change this to orange. Now, to make this work, I'm again going to use the blocks itself. So let's delete this. Now, for this one, we know that our red LED should work, say, for 6 seconds. Rather than giving 60 seconds, we'll give 6 seconds. Then our green LED should work for around 3 to 4 seconds. As soon as the green LED switches off and the red LED should work again, our orange color LED should work for, say, around 2 or 3 seconds in between, and then again it should go to my red. This is how your traffic light basically works. But here again, it is basically programmed to do it as such. So let's try and do it using our Arduino. Let's do set pin. LED red is connected to pin number 2. We have to make it work for around 6 seconds. Then we have to make it stop. So let's make pin number 2 to low. But immediately as my red LED goes off, my green LED should start. Again, I'll put a set pin. It's not 1, it is 2. My green LED is connected to pin number 4. I'll make my pin number 4 as high. Now here, this green LED I have to make it work for 4 seconds, and then I have to switch it off again. So here I am switching it off using 4 and low. As soon as my green LED switches off, I want my orange LED to work for some time. So that I'll do it with, is connected to pin number 3, high. Let's go to control again. Let's make it wait for 2 seconds. Then we'll switch it off. This is basically the idea. Now let's see whether it works.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now, Mr. Akhil.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, actually you're back, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, right.
Let me start off. Give me a minute. Let me stop sharing my screen. Start the simulation. Red is working for 6 seconds. Immediately after 6 seconds, it went to green. It will be there for 4 seconds. After that, it should go to orange, then again red. And this whole thing will go on and on. Isn't this the way that your traffic lights actually work?
That's right.
Okay. So now, again, this thing that we just saw is again just programming something to do a mundane job. That means doing it repetitively. But what if I want to use a sensor now? I want to create a burglar alarm. Now that is something smart, because burglar alarms are basically as soon as a motion is detected or something is detected, you should get an alarm, be it a light, be it a buzzer, or be it a sound. So let's try doing that now. It will take 15 minutes more. We'll also see the connections. So let's take a sensor, for example, and this time we are going to take a sensor called as PIR sensor. Now, PIR sensor is basically a motion detection sensor. This sensor with we'll use a buzzer for our output to just make some kind of noise. So let's take a buzzer. Now again in buzzer as well, you have positive and negative pin. Now, to make sure that you understand what the connections are, let's do this. Now, in a sensor, you have 3 pins. So you connect signal pin to your Arduino. That is where you actually read whether some value has been done or not. Power pin goes here. Your ground pin goes here as well. Now, the negative pin of your buzzer also we'll connect it to the same line. Okay. Now, the buzzer, to make it work, we don't want it to work every time. We want it to work only when a motion is detected. So let's connect it to pin number 3. Now we are going to, I'm not changing the color of the wires, but we are going to see how the code is going to work now. So now, first we have an input. We have to read a pin. So let's go to control. Let's take an if statement. If is basically how you use if in your English language as well. That means if you don't complete your homework, you have to write it 10 times again. Something like that. So if, then this, else, then that. So here basically is, we are not only going to use if, actually, we are going to use if and else. Now here, let's take, not variable, let's take math. Sorry for that. Okay, rather than blocks, this time I'll actually show you how to work with text. This will take me around few seconds. Now in your text, we require few more things. When we were working with blocks, we are not telling whether a device is an input device or an output device. But when we are working with text, that is when we are actually writing the code, we have to tell which is the input pin, which is the output pin. That is, where is your input device connected, where is your output device connected. Now to do that, here you have 2 functions. The first one is void setup. Here you set up the pins. That is, first you will set, that is pin mode is the function that you use again to set it as an input or an output pin. So here my pin number 2 is my input pin. Pin mode, my pin number 3 is my output pin. Done a spelling mistake. Now, what I have to do is, based on the reading what I get from my sensor, I have to make my buzzer go on or off. So for that, I want it to run every time. So I'll create a function called as void loop. Now inside void loop, first thing I have to check is the value that I'm getting from my sensor. Now for that, the function is digital read. Now this digital read also has to be there inside an if statement. That is, we are checking the condition. So what we are going to do is, if when the value is read from pin number 2 is equal to 1, that is, if motion is detected, then I want my buzzer to start working. That is which we have connected over here, and this will be out. Then output, it will be high. Else, my buzzer will be off every time. So let's do digital read. To make it off, we do low. So let's see whether this works or not. So let's start the simulation. Okay, it's giving me so many errors. Let's see why. Let me figure out. Sorry, this is not digital read. It's actually digital write. Mistake. Now, this is the area where the motion should be detected. That is the green one that you see on the screen. Now, as soon as I click over here, okay, stop 1 second. Let's check what's the problem. For some reason, the buzzer is not working. So let me also, oh, the reason it's not working is I've done a big blunder with the connections. I've actually not connected my ground pin at all to my Arduino. Now, this is something that we actually miss, that a lot of time many people forget, that you need to connect your ground pin to your Arduino, and you also need to connect your power pin of your sensor to your Arduino again. Let's start the simulation. Okay. Now, so whenever a motion is detected, your buzzer is working. Stop simulation. Let's go to the code. Let's remove this delay. Start it again. So whenever the switch is on or whenever the motion is detected, the buzzer will work. Now, this is how smart techs work, right? Most of the sensors that you use, and based on the sensors, a lot of things change. Now, buzzer is just an example. Burglar alarm is basically a small system based on a bigger home automation system. So these are few things that you can actually work with when it comes to smart tech. Or how to get started with smart technology. You don't have a component, go to Tinkercad, try working around with few basic things that you have seen. Now, apart from this, if you want to build more projects, you have more places that you can actually go and see what are the different types of projects that people are making. So before I end the session, I would like to know, are you guys, while you're working with smart technology, the first thing that you need to understand is every smart technology is basically an idea that someone thought of and then they made it into a product. So the first thing is to ideate the product. Next is to create. Now, when the first iPhone was created, they didn't stop over there, right? They, after ideating an iPhone, they created it off, and today we are with iPhone X. That is, they iterated it again and again. From iPhone 1 to iPhone 12, iPhone 11 Pro, whichever is the newer model, there has been more than 13 to 14 iterations of the same thing. And this process keeps on changing. I hope the session that you attended right now, you are either inspired, overwhelmed, or confused, or all three together. So I hope I demystified what smart technology is, and I showed you how you can get started in smaller chunks. Now I open the floor for questions. I don't see any questions as of now. So to summarize, we basically saw what is smart technology. We saw what the technology revolution looked like or is looking like while moving ahead, I showed you how to get started off with, and I showed you a small demo, a very small demo of a smart tech project. So I hope you all enjoyed. And before leaving, I'll be leaving you with a small thought. Thank you. Tony, back to you.
Thank you, Akhil sir, for the detailed insights on smart technology. Hope all of our students have enjoyed the session. Now I request Dr. Shubhra ma'am to conclude the workshop. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. First of all, thank you, Akhil, for the wonderful session. For a few minutes, I had become a child and I really wanted to do whatever you had shown. So, and you also ended with a wonderful quote. So I think that's left a lot of food for thought for all the students out here. And basically, to just summarize, you have already summarized, but to summarize, you spoke about the wireless technologies, you spoke about cloud, how we can store our Google Photos on cloud. You talked about the evolution of technology, industry 1.2, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. Then you took us to the basics of the development. You showed about the Arduino, Node MCU, Raspberry Pi. You also told us about tinkercad.com, and you really showed us a wonderful demo where we could really see wherever motion is detected, the buzzer was sounding. It was really very interesting session where we could relate. And the one part which I liked very much is you were not able to do something, you debugged, you found the error that you had not connected the circuit to the ground. So I know that is where we all have a lot to learn, that we are doing something, we get caught up with problems, but we can debug, we can find the solutions, and we can come back again. Okay, so I think that was a wonderful session, and you also told us about the ideation process. I can see Dr. Vinay's screen already. So Vinay sir also has done some very good sessions on the ideation process, where you really need to think of an idea, but just not forget it. Go to the creation stage. You might not get success at the first trial. Keep trying till you reach some part of it. Try using whatever you have used, and then you go to the ideation stage, iteration stage, where you can form various iterations and come out with something which will help you build something really productive. Okay, but Akhil also gave the example of iPhone, and there are many such examples where you start with one small idea, and you people at this young age will have lot more ideas than we have. So just let the idea not die down. Try to create something with with that small idea. Even if it is not something fruitful, have something, and then try to have various iterations so that you can have something fruitful. Okay, this was Akhil's session, and I think it was a wonderful session. Now, to come to the various courses that we are offering, basically, Akhil has talked about robotics, okay, the Arduino. Then, to go to the next phase, we have the multi-sensor environment and wireless control. And when you go to a little specialized version, we can also talk about and also help you build an AI-based robot, which we are already doing. Okay, and we will come out with some versions of it, and we will help you students also to build very good projects, just like Akhil showed you a demo with. We also have some courses on artificial intelligence, where we have robotics mingled with artificial intelligence, where you will really see something of the Alexa Siri series, what you have really seen, how we will help you build the same. Akhil just talked about smart tech, so home automation, model of smart city. Then in the next phases, we could talk about building IoT-enabled smart city building, IoT and cloud-based technology, okay, and combined with edge computing, all at your level. We also have courses on cyber security, that is IT fundamentals for cybersecurity, how the cybersecurity tools help us to, fight the major cyber attacks. As you know, cyber attacks have become very, very popular nowadays, and people are just waiting to, hack others' account and get money out of it. So how you really look at the various cybersecurity tools, ethical hacking, how you really look into it and protect yourself from the same. We also have courses on SMAC, Social Mobile Analytics Cloud, where we help you build your first app. We take you through the introduction to cloud computing. We help you to get accustomed to the analytics for beginners. And we also talk about digital transformation and SMAC technologies. So these are some of the courses that we are offering at a very, very initial level, classes 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm sure, having looked at the type of demo which Akhil has shown today, you will be very interested to take up the various artificial intelligence, robotics, smart tech, SMAC, and cybersecurity, which will help you get insight into some of the new age technologies that iNurture is talking about. So with this, I would like to end my session here. And I would like to hand it over to Dr. Vinay. I think Dr. Vinay will talk about the new age technologies. Vinay, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shubhra. Hope my screen is visible and it is audible to all.
Yes, sir. Visible and audible.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shubhra. First of all, I just wanted to discuss that what today, like it was a very excellent session done by Akhil Menon. So basically, it's a you can say it's a first step towards you can say the technology. Very nowadays, when whether we are talking about automobile industry or we are talking about any industry we are talking about, so whole world is moving towards automation, whether it is medical industry, agriculture industry. And in order to automate the industry, this is the first step where you need to learn the basic technology, how you can automate the small things, and you can start it from your home only. You can automate your car, you can automate your home, you can automate your I mean to say, and any device which you have in your home. So this is how, like, you can start building. You can say the smart tech devices to help you people, right? So, like in the similar lines, now I just wanted to take you through what all different new age program we are having at iNurture. And before moving ahead, just I'm giving you a little bit about that about iNurture. So, dear student, so basically iNurture is a pioneering edtech solution provider. So basically, we revolves around industry and university partnerships. So we do have a we collaboration with the premium Indian and global universities, like we are having the collaboration with TERI, we are having collaboration with Medicap University, we have collaboration. So in this way, we are having collaboration with some 34 different university partners we are having with iNurture, and therein we are having new age undergraduate and postgraduate program. So, and when I'm saying that new age undergraduate and postgraduate program, this new age is all program which are nowadays prevalent in the industry. And see, as you know that in order to learn something, the what is the runway? The runway to fly somewhere is for study, that is your curriculum, right? So we are following up a unique process of curriculum development, right? So the first step what we are taking in curriculum development is we are taking the requirement from the industry. See what industry exactly require, what industry requires in cloud technology, what industry require in information security, what industry require in data science, what industry require in artificial intelligence and machine learning, what industry require in cyber security, what industry require in blockchain and technology, what industry require in industrial automation. So the very first task what we are doing being a iNurture is we are taking the requirement from the industry. So once we take the requirement, then the team of subject matter expert and tech lead engineer, we design a curriculum on the basis of that requirement. So once we design that curriculum is being synced with the global certifications. When I'm saying global certification and how we are syncing it, so see your curriculum is a right blend of theory and practical. So when you will be delivered the practical knowledge or through the laboratories, these lab sessions are properly aligned with the global certification. Now, in order to elaborate it more, suppose you would like to earn Amazon solution architect certificate, then in your cloud technology lab, you are going to learn that technology, you are going to practice that technology, so that once you finish your lab, you can directly go for the certification. In the similar way, if you would like to go for a CompTIA Security Plus certification, then in your information security lab, you are going to learn all the aspect of that information security. So this is how we are syncing the global certification in your practical implementation. Once we do that, then two more concepts we are introducing into it. Then the first one is the benchmarking with prominent international Indian universities, right? So we compare our curriculum with the with like IITs, NITs. We compare our curriculums like California Technology. We curriculum with MIT. So we compare our curriculum that where we stand with respect to that designing. And in addition to that, whatever program we are designing, they are outcome-based design. Once we do all these activity, the next task is that complete curriculum design, complete curriculum process needs to be reviewed by the corporate. Like, see, we have started designing our curriculum with the first step, that is, we have taken requirement from the industry. Now it is high time that once we design it, then it is to be reviewed by the corporate whether that particular curriculum is fulfilling the need for the industry or not. So this is how we are designing our curriculum, right? It's a very scientifically way we are designing our curriculum. Now coming to the second part, once we design it, then the most important part that comes into picture is the delivery. So during delivery, see, the curriculum that when we are delivering, that your curriculum is also aligned with the industry expert lecture. Like you are listening to Akhil Menon, that he's taking the practical sessions of the robotics part, he's taking the practical sections for IoT. Then a lot of live project we have inserted into your curriculum, internships, and the placement assistance, that is 360-degree placement assistance. Why I'm saying 360-degree placement assistance? That means that includes your soft skill, that includes your aptitude skills, that includes your IT coding skills, that includes your domain essential part, that includes your specialization part. So all, I mean to say, the quality, in order to achieve the quality placements, we train you for the same through the various industry immersion activity. And once we train, this kind of assessment is done through a artificial intelligence based platform, that is our in-house platform. We call it a VigoLearn, where you are being assessed that how you are being ready, how you are ready with respect to that industry platform. So these are the various programs being offered at iNurture campuses. That in PG we are offering a 2-year PG program. We are having MTech and MCA 1 year, that is PGD, BTech 4 year, BC and BSc 3 year into this specialization. These are the specialization offered under the banner of iNurture in our various university collaborations: artificial intelligence, machine learning, distributed computing and blockchain technology, cloud technology, data science, industrial robotics and automation, cybersecurity, information security, Internet of Things, IT infrastructure management, mobile application, web technology, and process automation. And my dear student, one more important aspect here I just wanted to discuss with you. See, like Akhil was discussing about that how you can induce the smart technology into your life. So while we are talking about the smart technology, say take an example, and very beautifully Akhil have taken example of a decathlon, wherein like you can visit the store, you can pick the item, and without waiting into the queue list of payment, you can just scan that barcode and you can do through the various UPI devices. So while doing this kind of thing, don't you think that only one technology working over there? No, no, my dear students. There they have a huge database. That database is stored somewhere in the cloud. When you are sending the request, that is to be processed through I would say this analytics process is there, data science is there, artificial intelligence is working over there. And in order to secure the data, information security is going to play a vital role into it, because again this the whole platform is going to connect with your you can say the payment devices, UPI devices as well. So this is how the technology they are working together in the similar way. Like when say I'm just talking about an example in the smart tech nowadays. See, very soon you will be looking at that various wearable electronics will be in the market. So you can wear the t-shirt, and on your t-shirt you can change the design as you like. Suppose you are going to visit a temple, you can change the design of t-shirt without actually changing it. If you are going to visit say in a mall, you can change that design. If you are going to visit an industry or in a you can say hilly area, you can change that design. And apart from that, that t-shirt is also going to collect the vital information from your body that can save your life. I'm sure that can predict heart attack, that can predict various diseases. So this is the new technology which is coming up in the market. So related to these kind of new upcoming technology, iNurture have designed various specialization courses which are associated with this new technology, like cloud technology, information security, mobile application and cloud technology, data science, mobile application and information security, industrial robotics, cloud technology, information security, blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, cyber security, mobile application and web technology, process automation and artificial intelligence, computer engineering, information technology, data science and business. So these are the so many courses we have designed with respect to the various programs. I'm just giving an example of two program. One here I'm taking as cloud technology and information security. So we are having the various programs into it. The Bachelor of Technology, which is a 4-year degree course, MCA, that is a 2-year degree course, BC and BSc, that is a 3-year degree course. So in this program, you are going to learn the fundamental of cloud computing, data structure, computer network, network security, and you'll be exposed of server administration, business management, professional communication. You'll be gaining the in-depth knowledge of ethical hacking, cryptography, virtualization, cloud scripting. So these are the some basic things which you are going to learn out of this program, and various job roles which are offered with respect to this program. That is, you can be a cloud operation engineer, you can be a cloud network engineer, you can be a cloud administrator, you can be a virtualization system engineer, cybersecurity analyst endpoint security, penetration tester. So these are the various job roles which are available with respect to this program. In the similar way, we do have one program that is cloud technology and mobile application, wherein you are going to learn the mobile operating system, its architecture, its API, and to develop mobile apps. So, and here the students are trained on various Android and to develop apps for the Android platforms. You are going to learn cross platform technology for developing mobile app for different mobile operating systems. And so with respect to this program, there are other this application administrator, application developer, Android developer, UI engineer, mobile web developer, test engineer. So these are the various job roles available for this cloud technology. So my dear student, this is how like we are designing the programs for the students. Now apart from this, like as I was talking about how we are designing the curriculum. So once we design the curriculum, it is our foremost duty to train our faculty on the same technology, because see, technology is changing at a very fast pace. So if the technology is changing, then it is our foremost duty to train our faculty members as well, because these are the only person who is going to train you people. So faculty development program at iNurture is a unique feature wherein whenever we are launching any program, the first and foremost thing what we are doing is we are training our faculty, we are certifying our faculty for that particular technology in order to deliver that concept. And for student, if I'm talking about student development, even before admission, like you are listening to this webinar, this session, we are having various other programs which we are having before admission, that is Head Start program. In that you are going to learn the foundational mathematics. So when I'm saying foundational mathematics, it is again linking with your specialization. Like if you are going to opt for a course for a cyber security, then you are going to learn the foundational mathematics for cybersecurity. If you are going to opt for artificial intelligence, then you are going to learn the foundational mathematics of artificial intelligence. There will be giving the knowledge of Python, critical thinking, and various webinars. And even after admission, then bridge program is there, where in order to like connect you with the this new technology, so the basic programs like problem solving using C, motivation to that particular career, that career path. So all these programs are to be delivered after the admission and before the session start. And during your session, the complete teaching learning plan, various industry immersion activity, projects, internships, assessments, industry visit. So these are all student development activity which are there in during the session. And before placement, see, when you people will be approaching to your pre-placement, the pre-final year. So in addition to your regular practices, we are also having our pre-placement training program, wherein you will be giving the revised session, revising sessions for your coding, domain specialization, soft skill, aptitude, and the mock interview. So this is how we are taking care at each and every step for the students. And in addition to that, some of the students, those who want to get their career into the research area, we are also having 3 research cohort. One research cohort we are having in artificial intelligence, other one is cloud computing, other one is information security. So these 3 research cohort are doing a number of activity. They are raising the fund through the various government and private organizations like Scientific Engineering and Research Board. They are taking various consultancy works, and the students, those who are the part of this research cohort, they are winning the hackathons. Recently, our 6 of our students won the Smart India Hackathon organized by. They got 1 lakh prize also in that. They won this Smart India Hackathon was organized by All India Council of Technical Education. In the similar way, 4 of them also got like first 6th position in this a hackathon organized by the Tamil Nadu. So in this way, and beyond that, I'm glad to share that this in this research cohort activity, more than 30 patents have been published in this research cohort activity with the students and the faculty members, right? So this is just I'm quoting that how the students are getting placement, like Nitin and Sorobi, they got the 22 LPA in KPMG Dubai, they got selected. And see, not only your placement, we are also like building our relation even beyond your placement. That means when you will be alumni, then we'll be having the various chapter wise alumni meet. We are capturing your profiles through the LinkedIn. We are having a buddy mentorship program wherein we are inviting the seniors to talk with the junior. So in this way, before admission to even after your placement, a complete connect is there with the student. These are some unique features about iNurture programs and through our various university collaboration. So, my dear students, so this is all about from my side. Over to you, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable session. You're able to
Tony, I
hear me?
think there is some disturbance.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Tony? Tony, it's clear now.
I think we lost Tony. So, Subiksha, would you like to do the vote of thanks?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. First of all, I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Akhil Menon, for enlightening us with his knowledge. Today's workshop gave deep insights into the topic and also revealed some interesting facts. Thank you so much, Akhil. I would like to thank Dr. Sagar Gulati, sir, for being there throughout. Thank you, sir. Also, I'd like to thank Dr. Vinay, sir, for giving insights on the courses offered by iNurture. I also thank Dr. Shubhra Banerjee for gracing this occasion by her presence and valuable inputs. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all the students present here for paying attention and learning. Last but not the least, I want to thank the entire team who really worked hard to make this event successful. Thank you, one and all.